And this is sort of the contemporary theory of sales and marketing, right? It's different than advertising.
Absolutely.
So when you're talking about putting content out there, it's, I think, sort of like the one, well, there are a bunch of like tips or rules, but one of those rules is you're not talking about yourself.
Right.
It's not product focused, right? Or product led. It's not just, hey, we have a new product. Here are all the bells and whistles. Look how great we are. We just
Hmm.
won an award. I mean, some of that is
Right.
okay,
Right.
right? But to building relationships, what you talked about, it's kind of like, it's like if you meet someone at a party, and if all they do is talk about themselves, then you're like, yeah, that's not really someone I want to hang out with
Right.
for very
Right.
long,
Yeah.
because that's just so off-putting, right? Like if
Yes.
they're not at all curious about you or don't ask a single question, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to hang out with that person again, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
if they are friendly and like, oh, what do you, if they ask about you and it's an actual conversation, then you're like, oh, what a cool person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm willing to spend more time with them. I think it's kind of the same thing
Hmm.
in
Absolutely.
in definitely in the B2B world, like
Yeah.
and you do that through the content you put out and
Yep.
on social, interacting with people, and I think that could be a hard lesson to learn if you're not used to doing that.
Absolutely. It's a little bit more, it's a little harder, I think, for B2B to understand that. They
Yeah,
get like if you're B2C, they get if you have a product to push, if you have a service
yeah,
to sell, like they get that. But I think, yeah, it's just looking through that lens, it's like, what does my audience want to know from me? And the same thing, that same content can be used for
yeah,
email marketing. That's the other thing that I think B2B is a little more hesitant to do, and it's like, it's still the same concept.
yeah,
It's still the same. If you want to send out a little bit more intimate information, in a smaller setting like an email marketing, great. But you can also reuse that content that you put out on social. So you're not doing, triple the amount of work. I think that also is hard for small business owners to understand. They feel like they hear, I've got to do social. I've got to get my website, I've got to change that out. I've got to do email. And they're
yeah.
like, how am I going to do all that? And it's like, just use the same content, like,
Repurpose it,
yeah,
right?
repurpose it, so that it doesn't feel overwhelming. And you would be shocked. I have some clients that are really strategic with their email marketing, and they will get responses back, which is
Mm-hmm.
so odd.
Right.
It's like they will be like, oh my gosh, so and so commented about, they just love my story, or they love, the other thing that I like to talk about is your why. So,
Mm.
why are you doing this? And I think, especially with B2B, that's really important.
Yeah,
Um, it is obviously very important with B2C. We definitely have a generation that wants to know why. They want to know
mm-hmm.
why you're doing what you're doing. They want to know what this product was built for. But same with B2B. Like, I want to know why I want to know why you got into podcasting. I want to know those things because
Yeah,
it makes me feel, obviously connect with you. It shows me more about who you are. So there's, I think that vulnerability is lost a little in B2B. And that's what you get when you talk to somebody across at a table, right? Or at a
mm-hmm.
party. You get that, like, well, why do you do what you do? Well, that comes out in conversation, and it can come out, in your story on your website or on your story on your digital platforms. But it's just important to kind of let people know why you're spending, 40 hours a week, 40 plus
Yeah.
hours a week.